Be ready. 5 seconds. Start. Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, during the last two 5-year plans, we found improvement in production all round. Now we are entering the third plan, and it is only proper that we should carefully ponder over the whole matter and see in what things we are lagging behind and what improvements are necessary. My submission is that the plan is a huge one. We have had to get foreign assistance. We have taxed our people. Therefore, every rupee of it must be carefully spent, and that is what is very necessary. Planning at the center is very good, very appropriate, but the implementation, the execution of it in the states is not as it should be. We find that every year more money under a particular head is spent hurriedly within the last 2 or 3 months, and within the first 9 months, money is very slowly spent. What happens is things are not done properly, things are not done economically, and there is a great wastage. The feeling of austerity, the feeling of economy is not there. And unless it is there, unless we feel that every rupee should be spent very carefully, the amount that has been allotted will not be sufficient. We probably might require more. Therefore, I would very humbly submit that there should be a feeling of austerity and a feeling of doing the duty in the proper manner. There should be economy all round. I think there is wastefulness. That is my general impression. I move about in the villages, I go to the different blocks, I go to the towns, and I go to the cities. There is not that austerity, there is not that determination that is essential for the successful implementation of such a huge plan. Therefore, my submission is that the mind of the government should be centered around this fact. It should give an impression to all its subordinate officers that there should be very active, very careful, and very economical. I find that in spite of all improvements, the prices of foodstuffs are rising every day, and if that goes on, there will be no zest for the 5-year plan among the masses. They want something substantial. I know that roads have been built. I know that there are schools, there are dispensaries, and there are other amenities, but that does not help the poor man. He wants food, and primarily he is anxious about that. And so long as things remain as they are, the enthusiasm which is necessary for the successful implementation of the plan will not be there. We find all round a feeling of depression among the village people, those who are landless or those who have small pieces of land feel depressed when they find that there is no food for them, and that feeling creates frustration and it never helps to achieve good results. Therefore, my submission is that special attention has to be paid to stop the rise in the prices of foodstuffs and clothes. Again, in the villages, we find that the wages are very meager. In the towns, of course, the people get good wages, but the laborers in villages are as before. No proper legislation is there to see that they get proper wages. We find that people are without any occupation in the rural areas. We thought that within these 10 years, there will be a great effort to have cottage industries in the villages. We find that only in regard to agriculture, There is improvement visible all round, but in the villages there is very little of cottage industries. No industrial enterprise is there, and therefore I would humbly request submit that this aspect of the question should be carefully seen too. Now, what I find in the villages is that the new chemical fertilizers are being greatly welcomed. This is not so very good because the poor people cannot afford to have chemical fertilizers. Compost should be encouraged more and more, and then they can use their green leaves, cow dung, etc., and they can get manure. That is how things were done before, but they were not done properly, and so the net result was not so good. But I can assure you that some time back the yield was much better than what it is now. These chemical fertilizers require a lot of water, and there is a general program of pushing in these fertilizers even where there is no water. So there is a failure. This aspect of the question has also to be carefully considered and properly thought out before we supply fertilizers to the poor people. Now, the question of unemployment is really creating a great depression. We are having colleges all round. Graduates are coming out of these colleges, but when they go from place to place, they find no vacancy. It is because we do not have the required curriculum and we only have these ordinary science courses and arts courses. Technical education is not being given that place which it should have. Stop.